Shalom. Call halal Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem Kodash. Double honors to the elder apostles of GMS, including the elders that came before them, that taught us his truth. And shalom and salutations to all the brothers out pushing the word in truth and in sincerity. The hopeful elect tabernacle of David. I'm the brother Yahshua. I'm back with the World War III Daily Update. And I'm just going to let this guy give his synopsis and keep it short. We know what's going on over there to an extent, so let's just go right here. Habakkuk 2 and 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and shall not lie. What is it? What is the vision? It's the prophecies, all right? And we're in the end, and the prophecies are speaking. What prophecy? World War III, Vladimir Putin, all right? Raising up and getting the Soviet Union back in order. All right, so we're watching it. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Let's read that in the NIV and try to get a little more clarity. For the vision awaits an appointed time. Let's talk about the prophecy. It speaks of the end. The end of what? The end of the world as we know it, and will not prove false. All right. What prophecy? World War III. World War III is the end. Okay? World War III will end with mutually assured destruction. It speaks of the end. We're in the end times. This is World War III. Though it linger, even though they haven't declared World War III yet, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. All right? Now let's watch this. This is Don't Speak News, March 26th. Today is the 28th, so this is Saturday. War update. President Biden calls Putin a butcher. What is he doing? Okay, this isn't even your war. This war is between the Ukraine and Russia. But here comes NATO, and Ukraine isn't even a NATO country. What's going on? Okay? And says Putin cannot remain in power. What? Is that forced regime change? In Russia? This got to be World War III. Okay? Look at this. Slovakia. Okay, stop. World. This is Hal Turner show, whatever. Russian foreign minister says all-out war. I'm surprised he didn't say World War III. All-out war has been declared against Russia. Okay? It's coming. All right? It will certainly come and will not delay. Hey, though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. Let's listen to this.
Foreign Minister, all-out war has been declared against Russia. Everyone, Johnny Storm, don't speak. Well, this is from Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, and he's a pretty straightforward, straight shooter from Russia. He always has been. So he says all-out war has been declared against Russia. The West does not conceal that the goals of its policy are aimed at suffocating and devastating the Russian economy. He said that today, a genuine hybrid war, a total war, has been declared against us. This term, which was exploited by Hitler's Germany, is now pronounced by many European politicians when talking about what they want to do with Russia. The goals are not concealed. They are publicly announced, that is, to destroy, devastate, ruin, and suffocate the Russian economy and Russia as a whole, Lavrov stressed. The foreign minister laughed out at this sanction spree, pointing out that it is becoming clear that all values that those in the West have been preaching to Russia, like freedom of expression, a market economy, the sanctity of private property, and the presumption of innocence, are not worth a red cent. No, they're not. And they haven't been for a long time, Mr. Lavrov. He's right. Russian President Putin, on February 24th, launched a special military operation in Ukraine in response to a request for help from the Donbas republics. He said Moscow had no plans for an occupation of Ukraine. After that, the United States, the European Union, and Britain as well as a number of other countries said they were imposing sanctions on Russian individuals and legal entities. Now, this goes along with what I put up on the website yesterday about Russia's existence being at stake as Putin calls for general mobilization in order for a war economy. As Russia is preparing to proceed with a general mobilization, fully mobilizing Russian society, the economy, and the country's reserves. This is now the only way to win the war in Ukraine, as the conflict is about to turn into a Russia-NATO conflict. So this claim was made by the Speaker of the Russian Upper House and permanent member of the Russian National Security Council, Valentina Matviyenko, who spoke about the economy of war mobilization. Top advisor to Putin said that the existence of Russia is now at stake. And there it is. In big, big letters. So this is how they're feeling about it, guys, and this is what sanctions do. Sanctions are an act of war, especially when you're trying to squeeze the absolute lifeblood out of it. You know, the United States just went ahead and stole over $300 billion in currency reserves that the Russians had parked over here in the Federal Reserve. They just went ahead and took it. They also went ahead and froze their gold bullion.
That sounds like thuggery. Well, we're just going to take your money. What? You're going to take Vlad's money and all those Russian gangsters? This thing's going down. Listen again.
You know, the United States just went ahead and stole over $300 billion in currency reserves that the Russians had parked over here in the Federal Reserve. They just went ahead and took it. They also went ahead and froze their gold bullion as well. And so, and they're preventing them from selling it on the open markets. Well, I'm sure they'll be able to sell it, but not the way they should. And so, is it any wonder that they're using words like this, that their very existence is at stake? And, you know, that the all-out war has been declared against them, because it has. Because it has. And not only that, the U.S. and NATO continue to ship in lethal aid to the Ukrainians. And it's only a matter of time before Russia gets sick of it and they bomb the living you-know-what out of that base in Poland. Maybe even NATO headquarters itself, to tell them to knock it off. And then, of course, they won't, and it'll just get worse from there. But, guys, it's, you know, everywhere. And now we have Biden, who's over in Europe right now, in Poland, saying things like this. He's publicly calling Putin a butcher. And then later in the same speech, he says, for G's sake, this man cannot remain in power. Takes God's name in vain and says this man cannot remain in power besides. And just last week, he called him a war criminal.
Scathing.
And then after that, Russia said our relations are almost severed. What do you think they're going to say to this? So, in the most extraordinary display of gross ineptitude, diplomatic malfeasance, presidential lack of judgment, illegitimate U.S. President Joe Biden today called Russian Federation President Vladimir Putin a butcher. Don't watch the video? Here it is.
Yes, and you're dealing every day with Vladimir Putin, and look at what he's done to these people. What does it make you think?
He's a butcher. That's a nice.
Did you make additional
Thank
commitments?
you guys. Thank you guys. Thank
And so there you go. As if that wasn't bad enough, Biden later gave a speech, which he ended by saying, for G's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power. God bless you all, and may.
So, was he reading that off the teleprompter? Was it just off the cuff, slip of the mind? I don't think so, guys. I think this is very, very intentional, from the war criminal comment last week to what we've had today. So what is the world to make of these grotesque statements? Is regime change in Russia now official U.S. government policy? Moreover, let's talk facts. For 8 years, Ukrainian presidents Poroshenko and Zelensky waged actual war against Russian-speaking Ukrainians in Luhansk and Donetsk. That warfare killed 13,000 to 14,000 citizens of Donetsk and Luhansk. Are they called butchers? No. But somehow, Russian President Putin, who met his responsibility to protect, is called a butcher for putting an end to Ukraine slaughtering people in Donetsk and Luhansk. President Biden is clearly out of touch with reality, and severely unable to discharge the duties of his office. No president of a nuclear power has ever referred to a president of another nuclear power in such terms. Nor has any U.S. president ever called for a regime change in another nuclear power. These occurrences are utterly astonishing. And they are. They truly are if it wasn't for the fact that we're in the tribulation hour and the time is very short. As you see, nobody looks at that side of it, or very few people do. And somehow a lot of people think we're going to have this great human awakening and that we're going to establish this new utopia, all this new age garbage. It's not going to be a great awakening, guys. We're in the great tribulation. It's time to wake up because time is short. Look at this. And yes, Biden should be removed from office. He should have never been allowed to be in office. And it just goes to show you that it's he who counts the votes that matters, not who votes. Biden's a primary example of that very thing. So, what's going to be next?
Tell you what's going to be next. Let's consult the scriptures, shall we? And it's not going to come right away. There's some other things that have to happen first. But here's where it's going. Okay? And we can see that, let's see. When you understand that the so-called Russians and the so-called Americans, one's calling the shots. Vladimir's an Edomite. All right? So here we have Isaiah 19:2. I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, or the Edomites against the Edomites. Okay? And they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. All right? We see that. All right? How is it going to end? Mutually assured destruction. Okay? Vlad is going to win World War III, right? But they won't be in rulership. Right? The King of Kings will be in rulership at that time, after Vlad gets taken down. So this is Revelation 11. Here's what's going to happen. Okay, now this isn't speaking of everywhere on the earth, but this is speaking of right here in Babylon the Great, also known as America. So Revelation 11:13. And the same hour was there a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell. Okay. Great earthquake is talking about mutually assured destruction. All right. In which Vlad and China and these other nations are going to fire their nuclear missiles on America. And the earth is going to reel to and fro like a drunkard. All right. And the 10th part of the city is talking about North America. There are 10 FEMA regions, 10 parts. And in the earthquake were slain of men. The number 7 represents completion. So this means everybody is going to die in that nuclear annihilation, except for the ones that ascended up to heaven in a cloud. They were extracted. Okay? They were extracted from the war zone. Okay? Because they're POWs. And their enemies, right, beheld them. So, great voice from heaven, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, is going to say, come up hither and extract them out of the war zone. Right? And their enemies, what do you have when you're at war? Who are you fighting against? Your enemy. Well, Yasharallah is at war with the other nations. And they will be extracted from North America right? And then the missiles hit. All right? And the POWs are going to be very frightened that they almost met a fiery death. Right? And they're going to give all the glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. All right, so that's enough for today. We see this thing rolling. Wait for it. It will not tarry. It will surely come. All right, we hope that the elect were edifying. With that, we're going to say shalom.